I have just finished presenting a keynote for Connect for Intermediaries, which is a mortgage network. And it's all about how mortgage brokers can use social media to generate leads. It's a complete guide, a deep dive, everything you need to know. Plus, there's a bit of Q&A at the end where I answered real questions from brokers in the network. Now, I've decided that I wanted to upload the full recording because it's raw, it's organic, and it's packed with value. But there is a little bit of a quick heads up on this. Some people did not mute their mics. But don't worry, I absolutely did call them out. The presentation is at the start of this, okay? Then there's a Q&A at the end. Feel free to just skip around and use the chapters as much as you like. I hope you enjoy it. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Today, what I'm going to be talking to you about is what I call the online authority formula. Now, before we go into the online authority formula, though, the thing you're probably thinking, some of you will know me, but the big thing to think about is who am I and why should you care about me at all? Because I could just be this guy sat in what looks like a kid's bedroom with all of these retro-y things behind me. But I actually do have some credibility into what I'm doing. So my name is Ash Borland. I'm a business coach and brand strategist, predominantly focusing in marketing and sales. And I've helped mortgage brokers over the years improve their impact and income and simplify success. And my goal today, hopefully, is to do the same for you in some way. Now, you can learn more about me if you want to. You can go to ashborland.com. There's like testimonials and all that type of stuff and case studies of what I do there. But that's all you need to know for today, just to kind of add context to what it is we're going to talk about. So let's dive in to the authority formula, which is my kind of concept of how you build your brand online. Now, what I find most of the time is that when it comes to online marketing, all of us think that this specifically, which is views, shares, likes, and comments, are the most important thing. I actually speak to people about this a lot all the time, where they have this idea that the views, the shares, the likes, the comments are the lifeblood of their business when it comes to their marketing. And actually, that's not true at all. I actually heard something recently, which I love, which is this thing they said that what we've done somehow with this digital world is what we do is we make what is measurable matter instead of making what matters measurable. So in other words, those views, those likes, those shares, those comments, they really don't mean anything to us unless they are driving your business, which is what really should matter. That's the kind of concept behind it. So that's all great. And you hear marketing people everywhere say, it's all about those views and likes and shares. Now, a little bit of tip on this, by the way, I'm going to be a bit controversial with this. The reason why people will tell you those things matter is because if you work with marketing companies, that's the metric they can sell to show that they're doing a good job. But we've all worked as brokers, we've all worked with marketing companies. They go, look, the engagement's up and this is up and that is up. And you go, great. But my bottom line is nowhere, nothing's changed. And we've all seen that. And the reason why that's happening is because they fundamentally, one, don't understand your business and the way your business works. And two, they're just overcomplicating things. Instead, what we need to focus on is what I call brand touch points. Now, brand touch points are effectively they are everything we need to focus on. The more brand touch points we have, the more leads you are going to get. Now, what is a brand touch point? Honestly, all it is anytime somebody comes into contact with you or your brand in some way. So it's everything. It's not online, it's not offline. We don't have to silo them into different categories. They are anytime someone comes in contact with you and your brand. Now, it takes roughly around 8 to 10 interactions with your brand, so 8 to 10 brand touch points before someone recognizes and remembers what you do and associates it with you. So you want people as brokers to go, I'm a mortgage broker, or let's say John Smith, he does mortgages. That's our goal. And we do that by constantly pushing brand touch points in front of people so that they start to go, oh, okay, this is the case. Now, an example of if your brand touch points are wrong, and some of you watching this or listening to this will maybe have had this experience where they bump into you, but they don't actually remember what you do. So if any of you, you're all self-employed, if any of you have got friends and family who know you but don't really know what you do, and the great example of this is where you have a friend who's gone, oh, okay, they come and sit down and you go, oh, I've just got my mortgage sorted, and you think, why did you come to me? And the reason is because your brand touch points are not far enough. You're not actually reaching far enough. Can you put yourself on mute, please? Whoever's talking, it's going to wind me up, sound rotten, and it'll do my head in. So put it on mute with love. So that's how brand touch points work. So we need to increase brand touch points. So I'm going to talk to you in this authority formula about how we're going to do that. But before we do that, the thing that I love to do with this is that what we need to understand is we need to understand a lead flow. Now, the way that leads work and the way that I describe lead flow for this specific authority formula and how mortgage brokers build leads is that you have leads come from 3 different places. And the whole thing of this is understanding where your business is coming from. And then once we know that, we know how to market to those people in the right way. So the 3 places that we have leads from, and this might be, by the way, a little bit left field from what you've heard before, and that's fine. But it's just bear with me and roll with it. So the first type of lead flow we have, the first type of lead is referral. So referral is the main one. It's now with this one, interestingly, most people think that their business, brokers think their business is referral, and actually a lot of the time it's not. A lot of the time it's the third one, which we'll unpack. But referral, the way that we define referral within my business and with my clients and within the Mortgage Business Mastery system is that what we look at is it is a direct lineage. So your client is only a referral if they have actually done business with you. They have to have parted with money and actually transacted with you for them to then be able to refer someone else. So if we think of it like a family tree, it's, they have done business with you, they like what you do, they refer you to somebody else who likes what you do, and it keeps going. And on and on and on, that thing grows. Now, with this, by the way, repeat clients would fall into this in a weird way. They're kind of referring themselves back onto themselves. If they come back to you every remortgage, they have chosen that they like you enough to come back to you. We live in this world as brokers where we believe that by doing the mortgage once, we instantly feel like we're going to win that business again, and we do not earn the right to do that. We haven't automatically qualified for the right. We have to earn that right for them to come back again and again. And so because of that, they are referral businesses. They are referral clients. So that's one type of lead source, but it has to be direct lineage. If it's not direct lineage, great example of this being John down the pub, who never done a mortgage with you, but knows you're good. He says, oh, I've heard that you're really good at mortgages. And then they send their friend. We would normally class that as referral. It's word of mouth, but it's not a referral business. And this is where brokers fall foul. So that's what the first one, referral. The second one we have is, bring that on screen here, brand. So brand is where somebody sees you online. They found you online. They've never actually interacted with you, don't know you at the time they find you usually, and they don't need you at the time they find you, meaning they don't need a mortgage. They're maybe locked into a fixed rate, or they're saving for a deposit as a first-time buyer and not ready to move. They are what we'd call brand leads. So they don't know you and don't need you when they first find you. But what happens is over time, they build what is known as a parasocial relationship with you. So what happens with this is they start to watch content from you, see stuff from you, these brand touch points we spoke about. They start to see you and associate what you do, and then they start to see you as their mortgage advisor or mortgage broker, even though you've never had any contact with them. Now, there'll be some of you on this session right now who will have had this, would have experienced this themselves, where someone will get on a call with you, on a Zoom, on a call, whatever, and go, I've been following you for ages. That is a sign of a brand lead. And these are great. So that's another type of one. So that's a parasocial relationship, and that is a brand lead. Normally they don't know you and they don't need you. Now, the third type of lead we have on top of this is what we call demand lead. Now, demand lead is where most of you will fall in, and that is that they are the normal referral kind of clients that we normally would think. And what I mean by that is they are somebody who needs a mortgage when they contact you. And they might not necessarily know you, but they do need you. So they contact you. There's a demand for that. They're in the market right now. Any of you who work with estate agency introducers or any introducer of any type, this is purely a demand lead. That the introducer is catching them at the point when they need to have, business, and so you then get that lead. That is a demand lead. And so they are not the same. Now, why these get confused with referral is because we go, oh, that's a referral from an estate agent, or it's a referral from John down the pub, or referral from my sister. They are not the same. The reason why they're not the same, and it's very, very clear, is because if they didn't have a burning need right now, they would not have used you, because you haven't built the authority, which is what we're going to talk about here in a minute. So you haven't built authority. So they are not a referral business. Now, why is this important? Well, because all three of these, when you have all three of these in place, and you build your marketing and your branding around generating all three types of leads, then you build a robust kind of tripod system. You will never worry about where the next lead is coming from, because you know that you've got these systems in place to build referral, to build brand, and build demand. However, if you are somebody that's, and I've spoken to someone actually literally yesterday when we were talking about this, going, I'm a bit quiet right now. If you feel quiet, that is a diagnosis that there's something in your business, in your lead flow strategy, in your marketing strategy, where one of these things is not being utilized. Now, spoiler alert on this one, little tip. Most people do not have the brand one in place. Most of the time, if they've been in business a long time, mortgage brokers, say over about 5 years, I'd say, because by the time people start referring back, you will probably have quite a bit of referral and a big amount of demand. But very few, if any, will have a lot of brand business. But you need all three of these, and you need to be building these every single day and have strategies in your business every single day to try and nurture all three of these. And that is so important to understand, because that's what we talk about with the measure what matters. That's what we do. So that is your understanding the lead flow. So where do brand touch points come into this? Well, the more brand touch points we have, the more these things, trying to get my little pointer on there, will increase. So the big question we have then is, how do we increase brand touch points? Quite simply, everything is actually way more simple than people realize. It isn't as hard as you think. All we have to do is with brand touch points and let me just move my slider along. There we go. We have have 3 ways of doing it. So the first way we have is volume. Now, what do I mean by volume? Oh, yeah, I'm trying to move it across. There we go. What do I mean by volume? Well, with volume the volume is the amount of platforms you use for any one of those 3. So the volume would be, if I'm using Facebook, I could increase. So if I'm on Facebook as a lead generation, I could increase that by adding in Instagram. If I'm using Instagram and Facebook, I could increase that by adding in offline marketing. I could increase that by then introducing an introducer. So this is the volume. And so the volume is the breadth of how far we go with different platforms. The more we increase the volume of platforms we're covering, both online and offline, that's going to increase brand touch points. So that's the first way of doing it. The second one we have frequency. If this is the breadth, then this one is the width. So frequency is how often you post on a single platform. So if we were to post on, if you were to say, for example, go to Facebook as your platform, in a frequency concept, you might be posting to Facebook once a day. If we increase the frequency, we could go to, once a week, we could increase it to 3 times a week, or 5 times a week, or once a day, or 2 times a day. The more we increase our frequency, the more brand touch points we have. Same with Instagram, same with Facebook. So hopefully you can see with this, with the volume, we can increase our platforms. We can increase the platforms we use, or we can increase the frequency of how we post on them. And then the third one you have is engagement. Now engagement, and I'll move myself over there, come out of the way. So engagement is the third one we can use. And this is where you go and engage with other people to increase your brand touch points. And so that is where you go and effectively meet them on their terms, on their turf for this. Now, easy example for this is networking. If you go and network, you're not marketing and talking about yourself. What you're doing is going to other people and talking to other people about them. But that is increasing brand touch points because you are still in the capacity of you as a business owner, as a broker. So that is another way. Another way you can do it, by the way, is commenting on people. So if you're in social media, you can go and comment on people's content. Comments are content. They will drive leads to your business more than you would imagine. Because if I'm commenting on the local bakery as a broker, the people who are looking at the local bakery are going to see me. So that starts to increase the chance of a brand touch point. But also there is going to be a higher chance of them wanting to talk to me and start to comment on my stuff, which is going to increase its reach. So engagement is massive. And this is a big one that people don't do with engagement, is a lot of the time, and I don't know why, we all have this thing, and you might be guilty of this, and it's fine if you are, is that we moan that no one's liking our content. We go likes, shares, comments. No one's engaging. No one's liking. And then the question I ask is, when was the last time you went and liked someone's content? When was the last time you went and commented honestly on someone's content? And oftentimes you see people kind of shy away and go, oh, probably never. And you're like, yeah, because we don't. So why don't we treat people as we would like to be treated? And if we do that, we will get more back. Plus, most people aren't doing it, so we'll stand out. So that is how we increase our brand touch points. It is actually, as I said, it is actually more simple than it looks. All you have to do is increase and look at, and slowly over time, the goal should be that we are, and so just to understand this one, the goal is to try and make sure we have referral, brand and demand, focusing on all of those 3, and then we increase our volume, our frequency, and our engagement. If we push these levers as far as we can over time, instantly it's going to work. That's just how it works. Now, there's so much stuff that people overcomplicate with this, but it doesn't need to be. So that's understanding brand touch points and how that works. But how about authority? Let's put me back in my little box. How about authority? How do you show your authority online? Well, quite simply, there are 4 things you need to show, and I'll just not blaze through them quick, but I will go through them and give you the cliff notes of this. Now, for the example that I'm going to use in this presentation today is I'm going to use Instagram as the example, but all 4 of these components, and this is the authority formula, this specific bit, is you need to show this on every platform you do. And not really just every platform, but anything, any client call, any interaction. It's part of sales training when we work with people. That's the type of thing you need to look at. Now, but I'm going to use Instagram as a great example for it. So the first one we need to show is competency of knowledge. So competency of knowledge is showing that you talk the talk, okay? So this is within your content, whatever you're doing online, you need to show that if someone at a glance could look at what you do, it shows that you actually know what you're talking about. And so the easiest way to do this is with video content, just talking about what you do. Now, again, when it comes to content, I'm going to talk about what you can and cannot talk about in a minute. I've got, or not can and can, but should talk about. I've got a list of content ideas for you to be able to screenshot and steal so you can take them away. But this is all you need to do. You need to demonstrate that you know what you are talking about. If you don't, you could fall foul. So that's the first one. You can see here on the example, it's just a video. Normally on Instagram, you would put this as a reel. So this is where your reel would go. There would be a bit of content on here that is talking about, like that could be, what is a first-time buyer? Not what is. How much can I borrow as a first-time buyer? Something like that. So that would be there, and it's showing that you know what you're talking about. The next one you have is you have what we call competency of implementation, which you saw earlier. So the next one you have is this. Now, competency of implementation is effectively going and showing that you not just talk the talk, but you walk the walk. Now, this is showing results. So this is showing, here I have just submitted a mortgage application. I've just done just submitted a mortgage application, just got an AIP, client just completed. The best example, if you want an example of someone to look at for this, go to, I think it's at Anish Patel Mortgages, who's one of my first clients. I've worked with him for years, about 6 years now. But if you go and look at him and stalk him, you'll see he does this incredibly well. To a massive effect, and you can go and see where it says results. You'll see the type of things I'm talking about. So just go and jump in there, go and stalk him. He hates it when I say that, by the way, but it's fine. He'll be like, all the brokers are following me now. So it's called, his name is Anish Patel. Someone's put, what is he called? Anish Patel, and it's A Niche Mortgages. And if you search that, you'll find it on Instagram. But he does this really well. So this is showing results. So all you want to do is make sure you're demonstrating that you actually do the job. Now, please don't get this confused with like testimonials, because that's not the same thing. So competency of knowledge is that you are talking about stuff you know. Competency of implementation is that you are showing that you do it. Then you have the third one, which is social proof. Now, social proof is effectively saying other people think I'm good as well. And this is your testimonials. Now, normally for Instagram, you would put these in, so you'd put all of your competency of knowledge in the posts, and then everything else would go into the stories and the highlights. That's just a little bit of a strategy. That's why we put it. So you can see there, it says coaching. What would normally happen there if you go onto mine is there's lots of video testimonials from clients I've worked with, and you'll see that there. So that's where video testimonials are. The other one is results. I have this on my page too, but it's probably more specific for you to look at as a broker if you look at that, like Anish's one. This social proof is very important. So the reason why social proof is important is because what you're saying here is, yes, I know what I'm doing. I've told you that I know what I'm doing. I've shown you I know what I'm doing. But now other people are also saying, I know what I'm doing. So we're getting this triangle, this authority formula, this authority triangle that is saying this guy or this girl knows how to do this job. And it is really important. However, most of us, and I do see this a lot, most people will just do social proof. They will post a little bit of testimonial, Google review. They'll post it onto their main feed here, which you don't really want to do because people don't care about that. But they care about it more in this, because if they want to see the social proof, they'll go and look for it. But most of you are just doing social proof and nothing else. If you're lucky, you might then be doing a little bit of knowledge-based stuff. So sharing maybe once a week a video. But outside of that, you're not doing all three. And there's four. There's another one. There's a little extra one you need to do, and I'll show you that in a minute. But this is so important. Competency of knowledge, competency of implementation, social proof. I say I'm good. I show I'm good. Others say I'm good. That is the thing you need. Now, the icing on the cake, the fourth one you actually have to show is that you are currently active. So currently active is massive, because you might have all three of those, but and you can see here what it's highlighting is my Instagram stories is being posted. That's what that actually is showing. So currently active means if I go and check out you online and you are and you haven't posted a piece of content for a week or a month, oh gosh, some people 2024, I see some of that. Some people I see 2023, but that's extreme. But if you see that, if you're not demonstrating you're currently active, people will be doing this. They will look at your profile and go, I don't know if they're in business anymore. And so because of that, what happens then is they'll go, I don't want to, then it's really true actually, is they'll feel, I might feel silly. And so I don't want to feel silly reaching out to somebody who then who's then going to ghost me or say, I'm not in business anymore. So I'll go. And when I speak to people about this, they often say, no, Ash, that doesn't happen. I'm like, it does. And when we fix this and we start to implement it, they instantly start to see how they're closing more business, because they are just, I call it the leaky bucket concept. You're probably just hemorrhaging and leaking leads and business and authority everywhere because you've not sewn these things up. And so having these four in place is vital. So just to kind of recap before we go into the next part of this is we need to increase brand touch points. We do that by the volume, the frequency, and engagement. And we're trying to increase our referral, brand, and demand leads. How we do that then is we need to make sure we come across as an authoritative individual, a person of influence. And we do that by having competency of knowledge, competency of implementation, and social proof, and that we are maintaining active uploading. Do not get too busy because I've got a load of cases on my desk and I've got to submit them and I'll wait a month and come back to it. That's not the mindset you should be having, because it is costing you business. So that is the stuff, that's where we're kind of at this point. If you've got any questions, please do leave them in the chat. I will get to them. And I'm aware, by the way, that what the stuff I talk about is I go in depth in a lot of stuff. That's cool. Like I said, you can message me on LinkedIn or Instagram or anything. I'm happy to answer your questions. So now let's talk about, because this is the big question you want to know is, how does content actually work? Which is the main one. How does it actually work with content? Well, when you have a client come in, how content works in these 3 steps. And so the first thing that happens when you have content, you need to make sure you're creating what is known as awareness content. So awareness content is making people aware of who you are. And this is just a very basic overview. I'm not going to dive deep into this, but this is just a basic understanding of how content does work for a lead generation. It's a very simple formula. You need this in place. So awareness content is making people who don't know who you are aware of you. If you have all 3 of these, you'll increase all of those lead flows. So you need to have that. If nobody knows, and we call this, when I work with people, we call this a genesis point, which is where someone is first made aware of who you are. Some of you on this call, this might be this right now for me. Some of you on this call might have no idea who I am, and this is an awareness piece of content. So we need to make sure we're making content that people may never have understood who we were, and it's the first time they meet us. The second type of content then, the next part of this kind of funnel, is what we have is called nurture content. Now, if we think about know, like, and trust, awareness is the no. Oh, sorry, it's no. That's right. Yeah, no. Nurture then is like and trust. So for some of you on this call, you will have already heard of me. And so now what we're doing this piece of content for me, what I'm doing right now, this brand touch point is a nurture piece of content. And what that means is we are moving you further up that 8 to 10 that we spoke about at the beginning to get to the point where you go, Ash is the guy who I should work with. Ash knows everything about this stuff. I don't know everything about everything, sadly, just to point that out. I wish. Not that my son and my wife don't think that, because I absolutely tell them I do. But outside of that, I don't. So nurture content is this. Now, this type of stuff is going to be different type of content depending on what you're creating. So some of the content you make will be designed for a reoccurring audience, and some of the content you make will be designed for somebody who's just met you for the first time. You have to bear that in mind. And then the third type of content that you create and that you need to have is what we call money content. Now, money content, truthfully, money content is lead gen stuff. So it's effectively getting them to book in. The money content is something that you've created. And again, go and check out, you can see, again, Anish Patel is a great example on his website or on his top. If you look at the top of his Instagram, All the 3 pinned posts, they are what there's a bit of example of all of those. So we have some money content in there, we have some nurture content, and we have some awareness. But the money stuff effectively is book a call now. This is the stuff that you normally have to have signed off by your network. Normally, I don't know how Where Connect fits on that, but this is stuff that will be call to action, heavy call to action led, should be signed off, and is a lead, as an advert. It's getting people to book in. So the other 2, the awareness and the nurture, are more information led, and then the money content is book in. Now, what we do find, and I don't know why this is the case, but what we do seem to find is that we seem to find that people either just make loads of money content. In other words, like they just either pay someone to do it for them, or they do it, or they just run ads over and over and over and over again, or they make content that's just like buy my stuff, and then nothing happens because they haven't got this original bit at the front. Or we have people who are terrified of compliance and don't want to put a call to action on anything, and so they create awareness content and nurture content, but with nothing to send them to. They will pick leads up, but they don't pick up anywhere near as many as they should, because you're not calling to action at the end. You're not making somebody or sending them to something that says book a call with me. So in an ideal world, once your authority is set and we know where our leads are coming from and we understand brand touch points, our content strategy should have all 3 of these things in place. So the big thing here is, and I'm very aware of this, is you go, I've just thrown all this at you. Well, where do you start? Well, my goal today is that stuff's, a lot of that's theory for you. And you can go away and change a lot of that pretty much straight away if you need to. But what I want you to do, and what I hopefully you do today, is give you this basic idea of where you can start straight off the bit. So the first thing you would start with is what we refer to as top of funnel content. What's interesting is this top of funnel content is the awareness content. Most awareness content, when done well, also can act as a kind of nurture and can kind of become a money piece content too. Doesn't do as well when it goes further down, but if you start with the awareness, you'll do well. So the question I get asked all the time, I mean, every day, by clients and by people in my DMs and things like that, is what should I talk about? And I'm about to share this on screen with you. This is all you need to talk about forever, again and again and again and again. These top 10 questions are the most, what we call burning questions, or top of funnel questions, which is the thing that your clients is keeping them up at night. What we don't need to do is go, I've spoken about how much I can borrow before, I'll never speak about it again. All you need to do is talk about this, because your clients are constantly moving through that awareness, nurture, money all the time. And so if you're constantly remaking the same type of content, now I'm not saying, and this is really important, by the way, to point out, I'm not saying, and I'll leave this on screen so you can copy it down if you want to, but I'm not saying that you should repurpose these. So I'm not saying you should, and when I say repurpose, I mean reuse them. That's not the case. You reuse the idea, you don't reuse the content, which should be video, by the way. You do not reuse the video. You reuse the idea, but you just go down the list over and over and over again. Now, if you have a niche, you can quite easily put that in. So you've got, how much can I borrow if I am a first-time buyer? What deposit do I need as a first-time buyer? What is the interest rates for first-time buyers? You can see the thing. How much can I borrow as a self-employed person? How much can I borrow with bad credit? The niches are specific, and or the clientele is specific, but the concepts are still the same. What you don't want to do, and I actually do say this, is most content I see online from mortgage brokers looks like you've swallowed the CMAP book and spat it out at me, like you think that it's like makes you smart and look clever. I know that's rich coming from a guy who's just dumped a load of psychology and everything on top of you on this, but it is one of those things that is important to point out, is that your job with your content is not to try and make everybody think they need to know the ins and outs of an ERC, and they don't need to. I'm just checking there was no ERC on that one. So they don't need to know, for example, swap rates. I see this all the time. No one cares. Obviously, if you're in a different market, it's fine, but no one cares about that. What they care about, again, is these. It's all you need to do. Now, you might look at that and go, okay, and I'm going to just go through this very quickly, and we're coming close to the end now before we get to questions, but this stuff, you can actually repurpose this. I can show you right now how you can make these 10 things into 60 video ideas. Very simple. Okay. So what we do is we use a thing that I call the content repurposing framework. There are 6 things that you would put through. I'll go through them quick and then I'll give you an example. So the first one you have is quick tip. Okay, so a quick tip is very much just that, a very quick tip. The second one you have is a myth. So a myth is what people may have heard. It's really important to understand that it's a myth. So it's what people have heard out there. It's discussed as this could be true. The third one you have is a mistake. Not the same as a myth. A myth is something that people have heard. A mistake is something that people do. So it's firsthand, oh, I've done this, or I've seen people do this. A myth is I've heard someone do this. The fourth one we have is a story. Story is an example of somebody who has gone through that specific situation. Fifth one we have is an FAQ, which is effectively just answering the question. So frequently asked question, just answer it. And then the sixth one we have is a list, or it could be considered an action step. So what do we do with this? Well, let's take the example of how much can I borrow as a first-time buyer? Now, let's go back to here. So we've got how much can I borrow? I've got to remember the thing. How much can I borrow as a first-time buyer? So now let's go through this. You would pick up your phone, and the quick tip, and again, this is video content. The quick tip might be, you just pick up the phone and go, here's a quick tip. If you want to know how much you can borrow as a first-time buyer, the best thing you can do is go and speak to a mortgage broker and get your affordability assessed straight away. Don't try and run an online calculator. Go and get it checked by a professional. That's a quick tip. Myth. How much can I borrow as a first-time buyer is the concept, okay? Myth. There is a big myth out there right now that as a first-time buyer, you can actually borrow less than you can compared to if you have, if you're not a first-time buyer. That's not actually true. And people share this a lot, but it's not true. The best thing for you to do is go and speak to a mortgage advisor and find out how much you can actually borrow for your individual circumstance. Mistake. The big mistake I see with first-time buyers is that they often think they can't borrow as much money and sometimes don't think they can even buy a house yet. And they actually can a lot of the time. The best thing for them to do is go and speak to a mortgage broker and get their affordability assessed for their situation. Story. I recently worked with a first-time buyer. They did not believe they could get a mortgage, but actually we found out they could borrow a lot more than they could, and they ended up buying that 3-bed house they wanted. The 2 of them have moved in. They're super excited. I've just found out as well they've actually got a baby on the way. FAQ. How much can I borrow as a first-time buyer? As a first-time buyer, you can borrow roughly between 4 to 5 times income multiple, whatever it may be. It's changing at the moment, isn't it? So it's all over the place. List. Here are 3 things you need to do to know how much you can borrow as a first-time buyer. First thing is get all your documents in order. So that's payslips, ID, everything like that. Second one then is go and speak to a mortgage professional and get them to assess your situation. And the third one is get an agreement in principle so you can go out and view, knowing with confidence that you can get the house you want. That is how you run that one idea through that repurposing framework. Now, I know I make that look really simple, and I'm aware of that, but it is actually that simple. Those 10 ideas run through each one of these. That is 60 pieces of content, not including any niches or variants and sub-niches within that. You'll never need to do anything else ever again. So don't listen to people talk to you about trending reels and twerking on TikTok and all that rubbish, because it's rubbish. Just do this and try and build out your authority formula. Try and increase your brand touch points. Forget about your views. Forget about everything else. If you do those things, you will win. Which leads me on to my final bit, which is, do you have any questions? I don't know if Emma wants to unmute or anyone else is coming on at that point.
Yeah, it's up to anybody how they want to do it. If anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask a question, or you can use the type box as well. Phil's wrote in the chat box, I think your Breaking Bad post is brilliant. Can you share it?
Yeah.
If you want to do that.
Yeah, on that, Ash, I was looking at your content this morning. And to your point, where would you put that in your little clarification of the 6? Would you put that as the story?
Yeah. I can share that for you now. Yeah, so I'll share that right now.
You should share that with the team, because
here we go. I'll share it now on here.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so this is the Breaking Bad one that I've got, which I did.
Are you keeping, or?
Oh, sorry guys, I'm just quickly answering.
Read one and latest month. CPDs will come out there, no?
Hey, excuse me, you're not going to mute yourself, buddy.
It's okay, Jim's got controls.
Jim's on the mute.
I thought that was the voiceover.
I did then. I was like, what's going on? So the Breaking Bad one is a great example of this. So I had a client, this came from a client of mine about a year or 2 ago, that said to me that they'd spoke to someone and said if Walter White had critical illness cover, Breaking Bad would have only been 1 episode long, which is very true. And so again, what we're using here, and this is actually in this content, and I do a lot of the stuff in this, it shows that what we're talking about here is using an example. So an example of how insurance marketing could work, instead of talking about policies, let's talk about stories. So it's that. So we're using something that's pop culture and making it anchor to what they know. And so that's an example. You're very right. That would be the story part of that. And I love that one. I actually wrote about that in Cover Magazine and stuff like that. It's an interesting one.
I love that.
You can go and check it out. It's on Instagram. I think it's the second post right now. It's on @Ashborland. You can guys go and read it if you want to on there. But yeah, is there any other questions at all?
Yeah, one broker's asked, how much time do you think needs to be dedicated each week to all of this?
Yeah, so it depends what you're going to do at the beginning. So it all depends on what you want. Do you want to have a business that you know you can actually generate leads? No, you know, how important? That's the question I always ask people: is how important is generating leads and having cash flow into your business? Because that's what we need to see marketing as. A lot of us see it, and I'm going to give you the time, but a lot of us see it as an afterthought. And so then what happens is we then outsource it to somebody who's going to tick the box to make us feel good that we've done it. Because we're like, oh yeah, I've got that guy, he does me 3 social media posts a week and it's all great. And then we go, doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because you're not doing any of the stuff to make it work. So how much time do you want to invest in generating leads? That's the question I'd ask. I say to my clients when I work with them, it needs to be an hour a day, 5 days a week. Now, truthfully, I do all my content in about 40 minutes a week. Like, it's really fast once you're good at it. But at the beginning, if I was to work with somebody, I'd expect an hour a day towards that, to learn that skill, to build that up. And I think it's always good practice, and I'm sure Paul and Phil would agree with this, it's good practice to have at least 1 hour a day towards business development of some sort. And I think that's what brokers a lot of the time don't do, is they're too busy firefighting instead of actually putting time in and going, we need to have time to actually build something out. So eventually it would, someone's just put there, I wish I had one hour a day. I can promise you, and by the way, I love this. I can promise you, is Martin, you do. And you absolutely do. Just poor time management. You're not a client, so I don't mind if I offend, but it is true. I speak to people all the time, and I love you, and it's done with a love and respect, is that people go, I don't have time. If you come and live a day in my life, I have 2 kids, I work, you'd be like, how the earth does he get this done? Prioritization is the thing. It's once you learn the skills and you prioritize, you'll be good. But a lot of the time, the narrative of I don't have the time, and it'd be interesting on Phil and Paul's take on this, but the narrative of I don't have the time is what's killing you from it, not the actual time itself. Move on to the next question.
I have a couple more questions. Could you offer some advice on how to bypass the filters for sensitive content on TikTok? It seems like the algorithm is preventing videos from reaching the audience.
Absolutely. I was going to swear then, I won't do that. I was going to say absolutely. Don't, put your ass away is one of the things. No, I was going to actually say something a lot worse. If you're getting flagged for sensitive content, what are you posting? That's the thing I'd want to know. Like, I was going to say something a lot worse than that, but I realized we're not on my podcast. But I would say, I don't know. I've never had that come up. I'd be more curious as to what you're posting to flag that. Sometimes financial services content can be flagged as sensitive, I guess, because it's financial services. A lot of the time it might come down to if you're using trending sounds in audio, which I do not think you should do. By the way, like there's these, a lot of the time we see this stuff where people are making content, they use this trending audio and they put text on there and it gets a lot of views. But it's actually, it can be quite offensive. Some of the content on there can be actually quite offensive. A lot of it is putting down clients and putting down, you see people, nothing worse than when a client comes in like this. And I'm like, what made you think that was a good thing to post? It might do well like on views, but so a lot of the time it could be that the content you think you're using could be that. But I've never had that happen before. So if you want to reach out to me by the person who does that and you want to send me your content, if you're sending me your OnlyFans account, that's the last thing I want to see. But if you are sending me that, then I'm happy to have a look. Because I'd be quite curious.
Do some pointers. Okay. If you have 2 brands, one for B2C mortgages and one for B2B commercial finance, would you recommend 2 separate profiles for marketing purposes?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Different avatars, different profiles. The thing that people should do with profiles is see them as introducers.
That is more useful to you.
So, to see your profiles as introducers. That's all they are. They're not your online brand, so to speak. They are lead generating platforms. So, for example, you wouldn't go into a estate agency and start talking about Remos and, protection only and stuff like that. You just wouldn't. But for some reason, when it comes to social media, we forget that. So if we're on Facebook and we want to target first-time buyers on Facebook, do that. But if we're going to have B2B, we might be LinkedIn and we might do something different on LinkedIn. We might do something very different on YouTube. So it's okay. Give you permission for this. It's okay to do different platforms for different things. I probably wouldn't do different profiles in regards to like a Facebook and then another Facebook and another Facebook. I'd probably target different platforms for different things. So okay, LinkedIn might be really good for that B2B. Facebook, by the way, is phenomenal for B2C. So that's what I'd probably split. But yeah, you definitely don't want to mix the two together.
Okay, brilliant. How many posts a week do you recommend?
Paul knows this one. I minimum one a day and the reason that is, just so people understand, is because it's not just like I picked the number out. The reason is that let's say you have 100 followers on your Facebook page, just because easy numbers. Facebook shows your post to about 5% of the people that follow you. So if that 100, only 5 are going to see it. If we go back to that 8 to 10 concept that I said at the beginning of this, you need 8 to 10 posts in order to people to remember who you are. If you're posting, say, once a week or two times a week or 3 times a week, if only 5% of that audience are seeing that every time you post, even if 100% of your audience saw it, it'd still take 8 weeks if it was once a week. Now you get to the point where we're now 5%, and now you've got to hope that the same 5% see it. And this is why it doesn't stack up, is why many of you will listen, you'll go, social media doesn't work for me. They say, no, it doesn't work because you're not doing it enough. So it is a waste of time doing, in my opinion, it's a waste of time doing less than every day. If you're doing less than every day, it's not, all you're really doing there is making you go, I've done it and I'm ticking a box. But if you actually want to drive business, and it takes a while, you need to be doing every day, because those numbers it's a little bit like investing. The numbers just don't stack up otherwise. But if you do it and you do it longer than everybody else, it becomes incredibly lucrative.
And is this, just because of the comments about not having time from Martin, is this all on free platforms, or do people need to be paying for kind of business?
All free, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking, it's so hard to find an hour a day, isn't it? But where else are you going to get such good marketing? And
Martin's great. Like he just fell into the trap there, and I like to rant. So Martin,
he has come back and said you'll probably outsource it.
Don't worry, Martin. I'll see you in 2 years when it hasn't worked. So that's fine.
Okay, what video software do you use?
Okay, so I use, there's a couple of things you can use. I myself use something quite intense. You don't need to use that. Well, it depends what you want. What I'm using today is a thing called Ecamm. So if you want to know, if the question is, what do I use, how to do today, I use Ecamm, which is a Mac-only software, which allows you to bring in things and move stuff around. If the question is, what do you use to do it, yourself, your phone, just use your phone. If you've got an iPhone, then you can use you get the app called Captions, which is, I don't know if it's going to do it. There's it looks like that. So you can get the app called Captions, and you just shoot it straight into your phone and then edit it on there. If you don't have an iPhone, then get an iPhone.
Okay.
Or just get CapCut.
I've seen that in action. That's pretty good as well, isn't it? Would you recommend a personal IP or a company authoritative one?
IP?
I'm not sure what that means.
Cheryl? IP address, as in internet?
I don't know how that would matter, but so IP. I personally, I would say, I don't know if you mean IP address. That's super technical.
She's just commented again saying, "Won't it be too risky?"
Doing the IP.
Feel free to unmute yourself, Cheryl.
Yeah, Cheryl. Sorry, you just tell me what you mean, because that's great. I'm just misunderstanding the IP.
Hi, thanks for sharing today.
Yeah,
sorry.
that's good.
Just to clarify my question, if I want to build an account, like let's say from scratch, because currently we already have a company account and we keep posting, but then we tend to realize that if the content focuses on, let's say, from a person, like one specific advisor, it might attract more traffic instead of like a general one. So we are thinking, should we start an account just focusing, let's say, for one person, like separately, but it might be a bit risky because we are, let's say, a whole company and we want to hold that account, let's say, forever. Yeah. If anything happens.
Brilliant.
If that makes sense.
Got it now. Yeah, completely. Yeah, no, I completely get what you're saying. Yeah. So, interestingly, this is an interesting one. I do work with businesses who have multiple members of staff on this. Individuals will always do better than companies online, just always. And if you have a company brand, you do want to encourage your staff to have their own individual brands. Now, this is where things get a bit strange. How you do this is what you normally do is have a business account and then get them all, anyone who wants to, and the more you can encourage it, the better, for them to then start to post and do collaborating. So sharing, cross-posting, tagging, things like that. Now, the problem you have with this, and it is a bit of a double-edged sword, but is that you can't, if you want someone to build their personal brand, you you can't control their personal brand. And so
That's
so the risk of it is, and it is well worth it, but it is that if you build a brand up and then someone leaves, they take that brand with them. That is part of it. But that's why, in my opinion, the founder should be the face. And actually, I think with Connect, you guys do this incredible with Liz, she's the head of like everybody knows who she is. She's got a great personal brand irrespective of Connect. And I think that that is a great example of it. So like, I would say that you do want to do it, but you would encourage your staff to do it too, your team, but just you need multiple irons in the fire so that if one leaves, you can quite easily do it. Now, a little sneaky one with this, it is a bit of a sneaky kind of black hat tactic with this, is oftentimes buy the domains of their name. So like if they're going to go, that happened to me and I had to buy it back off mine. That's why I know this happened is I bought, my old employer bought ashborland.com and when we were there, because he was seeing I was doing social media, and then I had to buy it back when I left. Only once. He only let me have it once I stopped doing mortgages because I moved into this, and he was like, yeah, you can have it now because there's no relevance for me. But so you can, it's a little bit of an insurance of if you buy their name, you own that. You don't own it, but you have some sort of control. Now, I don't necessarily like it, but we do have companies that do that. Like I have companies that will do that. But that's the kind of, hope that answers your question.
Thank you. And I do think that if we do post through the company account, we might have more restrictions. But if it's like individuals, it seems like they can talk a bit more and the traffic's going to be better.
It will be. People buy from people at the end of the day. And I think that the companies who try to sanitize that are the ones that lose.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you, Cheryl. There's a couple of minutes left.
Got time for one more, yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if you want to look at it now or if you want Bozida to come to you directly, but it has put an example of a post that's been flagged up in there.
Which one is this one? Is it the...
It's Bozida Ivanov. You can tell that it's kind of structured like a social media post. It's got
you. This content has been flagged, but it's not in English. Okay, yeah, send that to me and I'll have a look at that direct, because I think that could be a... That would probably take me a good 10 minutes to unpack it. So yeah, I'm happy to have a look at that for you. But if there's any other questions, more than happy to...
There's a couple more.
Yeah, throw them my way.
If an Android phone, is there a video app that you recommend?
Yeah, CapCut. CapCut's great. I was just being a joke, but I just love that because very few people. But no, yeah, of course.
Anybody not have an iPhone? I'm with you on that one. Okay. How would you structure the content? For example, Monday, how much can I borrow? Quick tip.
Sorry to interrupt, Emma and Ashley. What was it called, that app?
CapCut.
CapCut.
Yeah, CAPCUT.
CAPCUT. Okay, smashing. Thank you very much.
Actually, I've got a question as well. You mentioned Instagram and Facebook, and you use like letters, B2C. I don't know what you were meaning. What would be the best?
Oh, yeah, sorry, no. So B2C meaning business to consumer, and then B2B meaning business to business. So all I'm saying with that is Instagram. If you're the question that was asked previously was like they have like a commercial. Was it like a commercial kind of arm, and then like a direct to mortgage, like a mortgage arm to Resi, I think is what it was. So like if you're that would be a B2B. That commercial would be more B2B because they're dealing with businesses. So a platform like that would be more heavily leaned towards something like LinkedIn that deals with businesses predominantly. So it's knowing you need to make content in the places you know. The key to do it is make sure, first of all, you're making the content we know people want, not what we think they want. So that's those lists of 10 things, because it's search questions. And then that we're making it in the places they're going to be, not where we think they're going to be. So a lot of times we might be making business to business content on a Facebook platform where it's only the people that we go to the pub with. So it doesn't really work. But so that's what I mean by that is B2C, meaning business to consumer. So you to a direct client, or B2B, meaning you to if you're doing like business protection or anything like that.
Perfect. Yeah, just cutting back, and this will be the last question. It's
all right. You can do another one of my. Funny enough, it's another one who's just messaged me, so it's all right if you need to do one more.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of timing.
Oh yeah, sorry, no, it's fine. I just didn't want to. I've got a hard stop.
How best to structure the content, as in Monday, how much can I borrow? Quick tip. Tuesday, how much can I borrow? Myth. Wednesday, how much can I borrow? Mistake. Or would you use a different top of the funnel content every day?
Brilliant question. Actually, really, really good question. So don't do don't do visible daily themes. This is something that people do a lot. Don't do visible like Tip Tuesday, Myth Monday. Like, don't do that. And the reason why we do that, it's a very ad agency outsourcing kind of thing. But the reason why you don't do that is because I might post something today and it's Friday, but you might not see it till Monday. There's nothing worse than it's Feel Good Friday. And I'm like, it's Monday and I feel crap. So like, thanks for that. Like, we don't want, so when you make it to when people see it will be different. So all I would say, actually don't overcomplicate. Just go down the list. Go down the list. And I would literally go down the list and answer all of them in a quick tip, then go down the list and answer all of them in a myth, then go down the list and answer them all in a mistake, and just go through that and cycle it through over and over again. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Anything else?
Brilliant. Well, for Anthony and for anybody else, Phil has put a link in the chat to CapCut if you want to have a look at that. And there's no more questions, just lots of comments about how good the session was. And thank you so much. I totally agree. That was really, really eye-opening. So thank you very much. I don't know if you want to share your details, Ash.
Yeah, and if you want to connect with me, guys, go to Instagram, which is @AshBorland. Go to LinkedIn. They're my two main ones. I do have a load of content on YouTube. So Ash Borland there is my main platform. So I do lots of masterclasses, webinars. I've got stuff on how to scale your business and as like a one-man band and all these different things on there. So please feel free to go and check that out too as well. And yeah, I really loved it. And Martin, don't worry, I love you really. I'm only joking. I feel bad. I kind of pissed on his chips.
Oh, he's logged off. I'm only joking.
Even better. I love it. I don't, to be honest, I don't feel that bad. I just want to try and win some business here. It's fine. No, I'm joking. All good.
Brilliant. There's comments about what a great session that was coming through thick and fast. So
someone's asked, can they have the slides? I'm happy to send it to Emma or Jim at the end of this. More than happy to do that.
Yeah, we can send those out.
Send that over. And if you do have questions, send them to me. I'll answer them today.
Great.
Cheers, Ash.
Thank
Awesome.
you very
Thanks very
much.
much, mate.
See you later, guys.
See you soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.